Hello everyone, welcome to another video. I'm Michelle, and today we're going to make, I got some requests to learn to do the macrame piece from my last bargain bead box designs. I made a macrame necklace, and I had some requests wanting me to do, anything showing macrame and how to do it. So here we go. I'm going to let you know what all you're going to need materials wise. So let me move that over. So GS Hypo-Cement is, for me, a must-have whenever you're making macrame. It just fits like a glove. When you end off, you've got to glue it so it doesn't come apart. And the GS Hypo-Cement is the perfect type of glue. It also has a tiny, tiny needle spout that lets you get right in those knots and glue them. So that's a definite. You might want to invest. I mean, if you don't have GS Hypo-Cement, you could probably, I'll tell you, the E6000, it's too thick. You're going to need some kind of a more watery glue, so maybe a super glue might work. I'm not sure about that, but alright, and then you're going to need some, I use S-Lon 0.05. I think it might be sort of like a fine C-Lon. And then I'm doing this as a dollar bead box project, so I've got the beads from the dollar bead box. I've got some of the mushroom beads, Czech mushroom beads. Alright. And that's, I used here as the drops. That's basically what they are, as a drop. I've got the melon beads, and that's the bead. That's really the bead we're going to be featuring in this project. I've got my own little silver barrels as an accent, and then I've got a clasp. I got a 2-strand clasp. I would like to make this multiple strands, so we'll see about that. Alright, and I've got some clear top coat nail polish to make my ends of my S-Lon stiff. Alright, I've got my macrame board, and I've also got some, looking for my box of pins, but I've got some stuck here on the edge of my, I just use sewing pins. They're finer than the T-pins. So I've got a few of those. If you do not have a macrame board, forever I used a lid to a shoebox or some kind of a storage box. Anything that's got a little lip to where it can, you can clamp one side on and with a clamp and another side. Anything to, to pull it taut so you can macrame. Alright, so get your materials together, come back, and we'll get started. Okay, I'm going to start off, first of all, this is going to be so hard in this small space to be able to let you see, but we're going to work it out. So I'm going to start off with about 2 feet of cord. See, I've cut my cord. I've got about 2 feet, and that's going to be the center strand. So I'm gonna fasten this right in the center, and then with my other side, I'm gonna go ahead and pick up my beads. I gotta pre-know ahead of time what my pattern's gonna be. So I'm gonna pick up. I always like to start small. A drop, a mushroom bead. These mushroom beads are awkward. I started beading too soon, so my nail polish, I guess, was still damp. So I ruined it. So, excuse that, please. Alright, there we go. Mushroom bead. A tube bead. You can use a 6-0 in place of this. Whatever you want. Alright, and then I'm going to see something. I've got some of these nugget Hishi beads. I might put those with the melon. And so I'm going to put on a Hishi. I might make this one strand because this is a long drawn out process, and I might not it might be too much to make it a double or triple strand. We'll do that in another video. And we might even macrame the closure. See, that'll look pretty macrame together. And then we'll go tube, mushroom, it's hard to, let me see, make sure I find the hole. It's hard to hold it to even get it. There we go. Tube. And then I'm going to put Hishi, melon, Hishi tube, mushroom tube, and that is probably all we're going to need because there is macrame in between. And so we'll see, okay? If we have to add beads, we always can. And so we'll take it down to the bottom and, my goodness, and connect it. So it's nice and snug. And see, the beads, these bigger beads kind of hold the line up off the mat, so that's good. So we'll go ahead and cut a nice long macrame with a nice long strand of S-Lon. Not too long. I mean, we can always add 2 if we need to. few feet. And we'll start at the top. Alright, can you see the top? And we'll put our string underneath. And we'll match our ends and try to find our center. So we've got the center. And so we'll just start making, so we're underneath the center string. We'll go to the top and we will make a P. And that's just bringing your right cord over across the middle cord. And then we'll take our left cord. Wait, this is way shorter. Okay, we'll take our left cord. Okay, we've got our right cord over across the center. We'll bring our left cord over this cord and up under the center cord and up through the loop. Pull everything tight. Alright, we've got our start. And we'll do our cue. We'll bring it over, bring the right leg over the left leg. Underneath and up through the center of the loop. Alright, and then you start over. You do a P, that's one full macrame knot. A P and a Q, one full macrame knot. Bring the right leg over the center, left leg over the right leg here, and up through, underneath the center, and up through the loop. We don't want to bring a bead in yet. And then we'll do our cue. And if you get lost, and you know, if you gotta go take a bathroom break or get a snack and you come back, you gotta leave your work and come back. You always start on the side that has that little crescent. There's a little crescent. It's probably hard to see with black, but there's a little crescent shape on the side you want to do your loop on. Alright, that's 2 full macrame knots. Two full knots make a V. I mean, 1 full knot makes a V. Alright, so there's 1 and 2 V's in there. There's 3 knots. There's 4 knots. Now, I didn't tell you, but when you make your end, leave a little bit extra, because we're going to do the clasp. You know, we'll need a little bit to do the clasp with. Alright, there's 4. And since there's going to be, we can work off the edge if we need any more length. Let's go ahead and bring in our bead. Just slide it up, push it up, and start your, whatever side, if you start on your P or your Q. So start your P's and Q's, just like you would if there was no bead there. Okay, here we go. Pull it snug, but not real tight, because you'll come out. You'll squeeze the bead out. So there's a P. There's a Q. There's 1 knot. Quit, baby. Ouch. Two knots. Now we're going to bring up our melon. And then on a necklace, we want it to lay, you know, out a certain way. Like that would be out, right? Well, on the bracelet, it really doesn't matter. So, whichever way we start, like whichever side we start on, will be the way it lays. So if we start with a P, it'll lay out. If we started with a Q, it would lay that way. So I'm starting with a P. So make our loop. Come underneath, center, and up through the loop. And bring it down. See how it forces it out. The next one will start on the other side, and we'll make it that, you know, kind of like zigzag, back and forth. Alright, and then we go to our Q. gotta tighten my string up. Make sure to keep it taut. So there's our cue. So that's one full knot. You can't tell it, can you? Oh, that's because I gotta do the cue. Alright, and now we bring down the tube. And we do a P. And the Q. And a P and a Q. It takes more time, but it's easier to just go to the end and stick it under. Alright, so we are going to have 4 macrame knots, then the barrel bead, and then 2 macrame knots and the mushroom, 2 macrame knots, the barrel bead, 4 macrame knots, and then the melon, okay? And that's just going to be our pattern all the way through. So we've made 2 macrame knots. We need to make 2 more macrame knots and come back and we'll add them. Alright, so we've got our 4 macrame knots. We're going to slide down our melon, and I happen to have Heishi beads too. So we're going to make our P. Usually I think right-handed people start off on the right on their P's. Left-handed people start off on the left on their Q's. It does not matter which one you start with, as long as you do both. Alright, so that's kind of, let's get our thread. You know, this thread's on a spool and it's curly, so sometimes it's a little wiry to work with. So there's my P, and make sure it's pulled down tight before you pull up your Q. There we go. And P. And we're going to do 4 macrame knots. So that was 1. One and a half. Two. Two and a half. Three. Three and a half. Remember, it's go. And then this leg has to come down over. You know, make sure it's coming over. Even if it flops, you know, around, it's still over. And under everything and up through the loop. Alright, now it looks different because when you, this is 4 and this is 4, but on this side the first one was so tight because you can squeeze it. When you add the bead, it's not as tight on one side. But that is 4 knots. So now we're going to bring down the barrel bead. Do our P, and then our Q, there's 1 knot, and do our P. We're doing 2 knots, remember, between the barrels and the mushrooms. And a Q. Now we want our mushroom, that's 2 knots. We want our mushroom laying this way this time. So we got to start with a Q. And then a P. The more you play with, you know, macrame and beads. I love the look of the thread with the beads. I think it's beautiful. Alright, and one more, P and Q. Or no, Q and P. The more you'll be able to manipulate certain beads to do what you want them to do in your design. Now, if you want a twist, you know, a twist design, just twist, 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 you just do all one, either all P's or all Q's. Alright, now we'll add our thing, and then I'm going to go back to doing the P first. I notice I've got one side of my string a lot shorter than the other. Very important you keep that center string pulled tight. Alright, that's 2 knots, and we need 4. Alright, and now we bring down our next bead. And we go right and under and up through the loop. Remember, we want to get this side tight too, back here, so it don't look so much shorter. And then a Q. Alright, and we want to do 3 more. Alright, so it's really nice when you have a macrame board and you can, it's got the measurements on it. So, look it up there. And that's about, yeah, I'll probably have to add some more beads to it. Let's see, 7-inch. I'm going to make my beaded section about 6.5 inches. Oh, you don't even see where I'm down here. I'm going to make my beaded section about I don't know, about 6 inches, between 6 and 6.5. So how long is this section? I don't know if I'll have to, I don't know if I'm going to add any more beads or not. I'll be right back. Let me figure this out. Alright, so we put 4 in between the melon and the barrel bead. And we put 2 and then the mushroom on, and we started on the right side, and 2 and then the barrel bead, and we have 2 knots, but I need to make 2 more to be equal to this side. We're going to have to add either macrame or another bead to each end, maybe a barrel bead and macrame to end it off to make it to length. I think I am going to make this a adjustable, so with a macrame closure, but one side of my string is getting pretty short, and while I can, I want to go ahead and I'm taking my 2 working threads, and I'm going to just put them right in the slot with that center thread. And then I'm going to cut another piece of S-Lon to work with. I don't need it to be very, very big because I'm almost at the end here. Let me cut that. And slide it underneath. Right. And then I'm going to take my GS Hypo-Cement. Wow. I have never had that happen. It's all bunch leaked out. Look at that. Let me get this under control. Alright, so let's take the GS Hypo-Cement. Maybe I didn't have the cap pushed down far enough, because I love this glue because it doesn't do that. Alright, so it takes a minute for a little bit to start coming out. And then I'm just going to, on that center thread there, and around it, I'm going to, because I'm adding thread, I'm going to put a little bit of glue. Get the lid back on. It is kind of hard to get this lid on because it's such a fine needle and a small hole that it goes down in, and then of course the glue keeps seeping out while you're trying to do it. And usually I don't have this much trouble, but since I'm on camera, you know, everything always goes wrong. There we go. Alright, then we're going to put our thread under, and right where we stopped, we're going to just start anew by making P's and Q's. go under all 3 strands. Come on. Go up right to the edge and start anew. That's 3, I think. And 4. And let's see, I need to add to the center. So I'll find my center strand and put on some of these barrel beads. I think a couple will be fine. We have to add to both sides to get to I still want to keep going with my macrame over these center. I don't know if I can. I think I'm going to go ahead and have to. Let's add one more macrame knot before we bring up the beads. So I have to do one more over there. It'll be 5 on each side. I just want to make sure it's nice and secure before I cut off my weaving strands, my shorter ones. So we're gonna go do our P over, under, up through without the bead. And our Q. All right, and now we'll find our old weaving strands. Make sure we don't get the center. And we will clip off those. As close as we can so we can bring that bead right up. And then we'll do our P. Oops. We'll do our P. I hope I probably wasn't in screen while I cut those off. All I did was take the old strands that I had put down through with the center and just clip them off right at the up close. And then we'll do our Q. And then our P. Let me pull this back up so I know where we are. And our Q. see where we are now. We're at 5.5. How long? That's about 1/2 inch. That would take us about 6 after we add the other side. Let's add one more. But that's let's see, that's 2 knots. Let's make 4 between these to match. This is going to be long. A long video. But I want to make sure, you know, for beginners, that it's kind of hard to just send you off on your own. Especially when I'm adding to as I go. I could have had this all prepared, but I think that's the fun of it. I love to see other people's creativity in action. Alright. That's 4. We'll bring up the next bead. And we'll do 4, starting with your P's or your Q, whichever you start with. Do 4 complete macrame knots, which is a P and a Q 4 times. And come back and we'll do the next step. Okay, so we put on our barrel bead, 4, another barrel bead, 4. And now we'll leave this like it is, but then we will flip it around, bringing the top to the bottom and the bottom to the top. Oh, that's barely long enough. Here, I'm gonna have to. Alright. And so we'll need to add some working thread to this side. I could have avoided this actually, but I want to show you, you know, if I want you to know what to do if you didn't make enough. You know, if you run into troubles, it's easily fixed with macrame. So I wanted to do this kind of on the fly with you guys and show you the process. So if you watch this video before you start, you know, you could even begin with this up here, or you can just follow me in. Alright, so I've put a little glue on my center thread, on my center string. I didn't want to fight with it on camera, so. And I'm going to do a P. I'm going to bring it right up to the edge. And a Q. P. Wait a minute, it's time. Let's see. Yeah, it's time to put the barrel on. 2 barrels. Alright, put that back down in the groove. Bring up a barrel. P. And the Q. So you cannot even tell that we restarted. It's very forgiving. Macrame is very forgiving. And a P. We did 1 knot. We're doing 4. So go ahead and do your 4 macrame knots. Introduce your next barrel. Do 4 macrame knots. Come back and we'll do the next. Alright, so we've got both ends are the same now. Now we may need our pins for this. So now I wanted to say, if you have a smaller wrist, you can take off 1 barrel bead or 2 barrel beads, whichever gives you the right length, you know, to what you need. Alright, so we need to bring these together because we're going to macrame the closure. Be right back. Alright, before we do the closure, let's go ahead and glue our, you know, that our end knots. I put a nice amount of glue all over the end so it'll seep in and really close off. I like to also glue along with the sides of the the macrame, and on the back. We really want this to hold. Alright, and do the same thing on the other side. Make sure your knots pulled down tight first. Really get in there, get on the sides and on the back. Okay, and let that set before you even start with the closure. Okay, now after your glue's set, I've got the bunch of 3 strings from this side. I've got them tucked in to my slot. These strands, I've got them pretty much pinned down to the board, so I can create a spot there where they all come together. I'm going to slide my string underneath all. This first knot's going to be the hardest. Make sure you're under all the strands. Okay, let me turn this where I can get a good bearing on my work. Okay, and you can see. Alright, so I'm under the strands. I'm going to make, of course, my P. Wait, this needs to come over. This seems so delicate here. And I'm going to come over with the working thread over the leg, and then I'm going to go underneath all the strands and up through that loop. I'm going to capture them strands all together. And now I'm going to do my Q. It's kind of hard because it's not pulled taut, so you've got to be really careful. I think we had to put a little bit of glue on the center strands while we're doing. No, we can't do that. We need it to slide. So that's a no-no. So we'll do our P. And our Q. However big you want this sliding component is however many knots you make. Alright, so I'm going to make about 3 more knots and come back. Okay, so I've made my little sliding unit right here. And I've got my strands pulled up tight, like that. So it's all as in one bracelet. Alright, and this is my extra, my working threads on this side. And make sure you get the right threads. These are my working, or my tail threads on that side, and these are the ones that I've been working with. So before we do anything else, we want to glue that carefully because we want it to slide. So the sides is the best place on these to glue. And we'll do the next side. Alright, and let that dry. Before I will be putting embellishments on my extra strands. I'll be right back after the glue dries to show you. Okay, so what I've done is I've finished my sliding component, and you saw me put glue along the sides. Then I came over here and took all 3 strands and made a knot. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to leave enough room for it to slide out to put it on, you know. But we're going to bring all 3. This takes a minute to do. Bring all 3 threads through the loop and put it where you want it before you pull it tight, and then you'll have to pull each strand. There we go. And so there's our knot. So our bracelet can slide open and shut. See, up to there. And then we want to embellish these little fringes. And I'm just putting on the little silver barrel beads. Oops. And I'm going to leave enough room for it to... I'm going to put one up higher, one medium, so I'm going to put one up close. And I'm going to double knot this because my barrel beads have a pretty big hole. Where'd it go? So I'm going to stick it through twice. Oops, it slid out of my pinch. I had it pinched up close. So now I'm going to have to work it down. See one of my pins. A bead all works great here. See, slide it down pretty close. Before you make your knot. And then we'll take the second one and make it a little longer. And put on our barrel. And then we want it to hang, I don't know, about here. Come through twice. It's like a figure 8 and you gotta squeeze them together. Okay. That might be the longest. Let me see the other side. Kind of want to make it match. No, that's about right for the second one, and then we'll put on the third one. Oops, sorry about that. I set my camera. We'll put it about here. It don't really matter, but I like it to match, so. And this is the part that's going to be dangling down from your wrist when you wear it. Come on, get back up where I want you. There we go. Slide it together. Now, put some glue on your knots. Takes a second for it to come out. I don't want to squeeze it because then I have a mess. There it comes. See, glue is paramount. You cannot do this if you don't have glue. And the E6000 is just too thick and rubbery. You need something that's thin and it's going to seep down in these knots. Okay. Let those dry before you cut them off. I'll be back as soon as they dry. Alright, well, just pretend like mine are dry. I'm going to go ahead and clip them. I'm going to give it a little bit of room and kind of cut it diagonally. I'm not going to cut it right up to the knot. I don't think. I might after the glue dries, but not now. And so, let me take my board away. Here is our little macrame bracelet. Now, these are nice by themselves, or, you know, you can make a bunch and stack them up your arm. And see, they slide. And you put it on. And then you pull down. And here the dangles hang, you know, underneath. So there's our bracelet, and I made it to match the necklace. These are supposed to come out. Somehow I got it inside out. Let's see. Let me take this clasp, unclasp it. I might have it clasped backwards. Okay, there we go. There's the necklace I made with the dollar bead box beads. There you go. And then here's the bracelet we made, because, you know, I got requests for doing macrame, to learn to do macrame, so I thought we would do a bracelet to match that. And also kind of get used to doing macrame and troubleshooting, and so you can start and finish anywhere you'd like. Alright? Alright. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll see you in the next video.